It's 4-on-3 here. Chris Forrester, on he goes. Chris Forrester with a goal for the ages. A goal from the heavens in the cup final from Chris Forrester. St. Pat's lead it in the last seconds of the first period of extra time. In towards the near post, equaliser. What a header from Rory Feely. Well, that didn't take long. Robbie Benson to step forward. Robbie Benson to score. St. Pat's to win the cup.
Come on, folks, everybody sing. Now when the Saints go marching in. Now when the Saints go marching in. Yes, I want to be in that number. When the Saints go marching in. Sing it again.
It's more relief, I think, when you're in the coaching side of it. Then I think as a player, it's probably absolute jubilation. You run down and congratulate your teammate and jump on him or whatever. It's more probably a big sigh of relief when you're a coach or a manager. So it was such a turbulent sort of extra time, especially. I thought we had a good foothold. The first half extra time, then Chris scored right before half time, and then obviously Rory scored right after half time to equalise, and then right at the death then Veets pulled off a couple of unbelievable saves. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. We did talk about it throughout the week that it's unbelievable the amount of FAI Cup finals that have gone to extra time and penalties in recent years. So, you know, we had practiced penalties for the last week to 10 days, and you know, I had a feeling that it was going to be, it could have went the full distance. So I suppose you can't replicate the bit of pressure on that, but our lads were definitely in a good rhythm in regards to taking penalties all week. So
this is the ExtraTime.com Monday podcast. I'm Oisin Langan, and that is St. Patrick's Athletic head coach Stephen O'Donnell on a dramatic Extra.ie FAI Cup final win against Bohs yesterday. The Saints winning on penalties. Robbie Benson making himself a saint, having already been a legend. Des Curran, by the way, was the commentator on those clips. He did a fantastic job along with Pat Fenlon on RTE television yesterday. What an occasion it was. What an atmosphere it was. Well done to the Bohs supporters. Well done to the St. Pat's supporters. I was there as a neutral and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And even though the game itself wasn't amazing, it was just a great thing to be at. It was just a great event, and I'll remember it forevermore. It wasn't the greatest game in the world, but there was enough in the match to keep you entertained. Now, I am aware that there was a little bit of trouble near a pub close enough to the ground before the match, and today we're not going to reflect too much on that for two reasons. One, the people who perpetrated those acts don't deserve the coverage, they don't deserve the attention. But two, let's hope there's a follow-up to it and that proceedings are brought against these people and that they get the punishment that they deserve, whoever they are. I don't know who they attach themselves to, but whoever they are, they have absolutely no place in football. But look, we're going to talk mainly about the positive stuff yesterday, and there was so much of that. It was the overriding emotion of the day. Also today, by the way, on the podcasts, we'll get Tom O'Connor of ExtraTime.com's roundup on how the Irish did in the UK and beyond over the weekend, and we'll hear from Loughmore-Castleiney's David Kennedy. David is 45, but he's still playing for Loughmore-Castleiney, and yesterday they completed a senior double in Tipperary. Now, I know there's been a few doubles this season. Naas and Kilmacud Crokes stand out, but Naas only had, I think, 2 players on both panels. Crokes had only 1 player on both panels. For Loughmore-Castleiney, it's pretty much everyone. Like, pretty much all of them play football and hurling. It's an amazing situation. They are an amazing club. We'll get to that in a while. We'll also have a roundup on everything else that happened in Gaelic games. I don't think we'll talk too much about Ralph Ranieri's hiring by Manchester United. You've probably heard an awful lot about that at this stage, and I'm not sure there's much I can add to it. Before we hear from Ian Birmingham and Alan Mathews, and it was an amazing couple of days for Ian Birmingham, let's hear from Bohs coach Trevor Crawley.
I think we had the better chances. I felt sometimes the emotions of the game can kind of, when you look back on it and analyse it, it can be slightly different than sometimes you feel on the side, but it felt like we had the bigger chances in the game. We didn't take them, so got the penalty kicks and then you go ahead. Unfortunately, you lose, so it's not our day, it's our past day. Congratulations to them.
tough place for Trevor Crawley to be. He was on media duties after the game yesterday because Keith Long was suspended. If there are losers, that means there has to be winners. One of those is Ian Birmingham. He had a good game yesterday after a fairly dramatic weekend. I'll allow the man himself explain.
It's probably the best feeling I've had in football, to be quite honest with you. Just in terms of like the way, obviously winning the league and the cup a good few years ago now is obviously brilliant, but you might think sometimes that it happens every year then, but to go on the sort of decline that we did, but we went on a little bit of a slip over the last number of years, and just to come back here to captain this team, I said it to the lads before the game, it's an absolute honour to lead them out into the Aviva for this club in a cup final. It was probably the proudest day in my football career to do that, and obviously to come out on the winning side and to lift the trophy with a great friend of mine, Christy O'Neill, who's been here longer than me. It's just special. And to add to that, I had my first child on Friday, which it's probably all my dreams came true in a weekend. So I can't believe it, to be quite honest with you. It's the best weekend of my life, to be honest. Well, my missus, we went into hospital, me and Leah, my missus, on Friday morning, and then she had the baby at about 5:05 on Friday evening. I was there up until late Friday evening and then early Saturday morning, and then sort of had to leave them then to meet up with the lads to go through everything, and I just spoke to her there and video called her, or just at home. We got out, I think she watched the match and I was at home, she seen me lift the trophy, so I'm buzzing with that, and they're all good, so great.
Were you out last night, you're going home?
I think she's letting me out tonight.
What girl is it?
Girl, Pippa.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you had Christy lift the trophy with you, was it?
Christy O'Neill, yeah. He's a great friend of mine since he's come into. Any player that's passed through the doors of St. Pat's will tell you that Christy O'Neill is an absolute legend. He's there for you any time. He's just a brilliant person, to be honest with you, and he's helped me out a lot over the years. And just I'm sure the lads will back me up and say this. Like he's just like Pat's isn't Pat's without Christy O'Neill, to be quite honest with you. As I said, he's the only one that's been here probably before me that's sort of but just a great fella and a really, really good friend of mine. And I just thought he deserved sort of to be put on the limelight a bit, because there's a lot of people that do a lot of work in the background at various different clubs, but and they don't get any sort of praise or any sort of mention, and us players get it all when we win. But just brilliant fella, and it's an absolute honour to be able to bring him up and to lift the trophy. He didn't want that at the start, but I had to beg him and ask a few lads to beg him to get up, but he did in the end, and I'm delighted.
Ian Birmingham speaking to the media following yesterday's game. Stephen O'Donnell, he has done a great job at St. Pat's. Even if they didn't win yesterday, it was still a good season because they'd secured their European spot through the league. It's a pretty obvious connection to make, but Stephen O'Donnell and Dundalk kind of go together. He played the best stuff of his career at the club. Even then, when he retired as a player, he was on the backroom staff and he was greatly admired. There's a change in ownership at Dundalk. So will it be the case? Could it be the case that he'll take over there and that he will be the head coach at Dundalk? I don't think he can be the manager because he doesn't have a pro licence, but I'm sure they're interested. Whether or not he's interested in them, I don't know. But this is what he had to say yesterday after the game when he was asked whether or not he will be the St. Pat's head coach / manager next season.
And we'll see that. We'll get all that sort of decided over the next week or two. So we'll see what happens there. Today we're just buzzing to be winning with these group of lads, with the staff we have. Delighted, and it's been a journey, a sort of abnormal journey in regard to COVID, the sort of difficulties we had. I missed a game a couple of weeks ago. We had a couple of other lads get COVID. So to dodge all them bullets and that, and then end up November the 28th at the Aviva, 37,000 on the right side of winning the FAI Cup, just buzzing.
Stephen O'Donnell, the St. Patrick's Athletic head coach, speaking to the media yesterday. He's good at handling media questions, isn't he? Alan Mathews to come in a second, but just to tell you, the Republic of Ireland taking on Georgia tomorrow in a World Cup qualifier at Tallaght Stadium. We did a big preview of that game on Friday's podcast with McDara Ferris, so if you want to check that out, by all means, go back to it. Right, time to talk more about yesterday's events at the Aviva. We're joined by St. Patrick's Athletic manager Alan Mathews. Alan, How are you today?
All good, thanks, Oisin. Yeah, in good form, obviously. We had a great day yesterday. We had a great evening last night, which didn't finish too late. And we're in good fettle again today. So there's a couple of celebratory functions organised over the next couple of days, which the players will attend, and some of us will go along to as well. But yeah, in good form.
Stephen said it after the game yesterday, pretty much immediately afterwards, that for management, the feeling when you win something big, especially the way you won it yesterday, is more relief than joy. How are you feeling now? Has the joy settled in? Are you still feeling relieved? What's the main feeling?
Yeah, it is definitely one of relief. Penalty kicks can go either way, and when you get over the line on the right side of it, it's a real sense of relief. You can celebrate then afterwards. We had a good night last night, and you can savour it a little bit today. We'll hook up as a staff group a little bit later on, and we'll have a few beers and have a chat and a relaxed mode. But it's certainly kicking in now. It's been a terrific season, and it was a wonderful way for us to finish off and winning a trophy. The tension and the atmosphere around the ground yesterday was superb. It was a brilliant atmosphere for a cup final. Don't know how good the game was from a neutral point of view. Obviously haven't seen any of it back yet, but I think it's a tense occasion, and some players can embrace that and can step up to the plate. Some players, unfortunately, go under a little bit, and it's a real test of character. And I think for everybody, coaches, management, staff, supporters, volunteers at clubs, it's a real day of tension. And just when you have that, as I said, last minute kind of shootout, it takes it right to the wire. And we're just delighted that it comes out the right side for us, and we can enjoy it now, definitely.
And it's easy to say it now because he scored a cup final winning penalty. But even if Robbie had blazed that one over the crossbar, he, I think, represents everything that you would want on that pitch for your club as a fan. I'm sure as management. He got a knock in the first half, he kept going. He got a knock in the second half, he kept going. There was one stage he hit the ground and was in pain and still managed to deliver a pass. I mean, Robbie Benson was everything I imagined that you wanted out there on that pitch yesterday. Everything you would expect from Robbie Benson, but he delivered. Yeah,
he did. He's a man who's highly intelligent. He's a man who has a very, very high level of performance in him week in, week out. He's been unfortunate this year with a couple of long-term injuries. He probably hasn't been able to get into a real rhythm. But when he played for us earlier on before his injury in his quad, he was excellent. Took him a while. Obviously, he was out for 8, I think it was 9 weeks, 12 weeks, maybe closer to 12, with that injury. And he's now getting back again. And what you said there sums it up. He epitomised all the values that you would want in a good team player. Selfless running, doing everything for the team, putting himself in danger's way, getting his head split, not being perturbed by it or knocked back in any shape or form. And then having the responsibility to take the 5th penalty, knowing that it could be a decisive one. And we had every faith in Robbie going up and hitting that penalty. Albeit that he only had one fit leg, if you like, his kicking leg, obviously, because he had taken so much damage in the game. But the way he played, the way he rallied people around him, Robbie is I suppose, what would you say, an example setter, a key leader in the group, does it in a quiet, very, very, he doesn't go looking for plaudits, he doesn't go looking for any kind of recognition for it, he just gets it because of the way he carries himself and his demeanour, and the respect that he has from everybody at the club is of the highest order. So a great way for him to finish off what has been a difficult season for him on a personal basis, but to finish it off and to bring that emotion and joy to so many people. It's something that I think will stick with Robbie for a long, long time. And he's plenty of legs left in him, and he'll still have good days, but I think he'll remember that one because he gave everything for the cause, and it was appropriate that he got the penalty that won us the cup.
And what about Ian Birmingham? What a weekend he's had. He and his partner had their first baby on Friday, and then he goes and wins the cup.
Then he goes and wins the cup, and myself and Bermo were able to swap stories during the week because I became a grandfather for the first time on Wednesday. My daughter had their first grandchild on Wednesday, and
congratulations!
They're both in the Coombe at the same time, and we were swapping stories, and we were able to tic-tac. So it's been a very emotional week for Ian, captain of the club, record league appearance. and stalwarts for the last, 11, 12 years he's been there now. And to finish it off and to lift the trophy was fitting for himself. And he can share all of that now with his daughter going forward, and it'll bring back very, very positive memories for them as a family, as they get on in life. So it's brilliant to have, because cups are memories. You make memories on days. Leagues are terrific to win. They're the hard grind over 36 games, and you can savour that, and you soldier with guys for a long, long time. Cups, the one-off days. I know you have to win maybe 6 games to get there, wherever it is, but the occasion and the spectacle of playing in front of 37,000 people there, the atmosphere that was created, and just the buzz about it, that's something that's not replicated enough in the league. And when you have special days like that, they stick with you. And I think Ian will have a special memory for all the right reasons over this weekend.
And you mentioned it there, the atmosphere. I'm not sure if it was something that you could indulge, given that you had a job to do, but I was there yesterday as a neutral. I wasn't even working. I was just there to watch the match. And I've never experienced an atmosphere like it at the Aviva or Lansdowne Road, whichever way you want to refer to it. There was a buzz among the supporters. There was a noise throughout the game. At times the game wasn't amazing. I'm sure you don't care that, you've got the cup. That's all that matters. At times there was great moments of quality, but at times it wasn't amazing. That's a cup final though. But was that something that you were able to soak in? Was that something that was part of your performance? How did you experience that atmosphere?
You kind of try and prepare for it, and I suppose try and visualise what it's going to be like, and try and put the players at ease. It was a spectacular occasion, and the Aviva has become synonymous now with good crowds for cup finals. The first one was the Rovers Sligo game, which I covered for radio with Pat Fenlon. And I remember the two of us saying, this is a proper match with a proper crowd and a proper atmosphere. And that was the first game back in the Aviva. And I think it's been, I wouldn't say a good leveler, but I think it's brought some teams up, it's brought some teams down over the last couple of years. But certainly that game, the first Dublin derby in 20 years, as a cup final, it had everything in the build-up to it. We knew we'd have a good crowd. We knew Bows would have a good crowd. Our crowd were magnificent. They stuck with the team from the start to finish, and it was just a great atmosphere. It's difficult in getting messages and information onto guys on the pitch because of the noise, but it didn't faze the players, and give credit to the Bows players as well. It didn't seem to faze them. It certainly didn't faze our lads, and even to the extent we bring a 17-year-old on to play centre-back, and he plays the game as if he's playing it in a park. He was that composed and that cool in possession, and it just brought the best out of a lot of guys. And it's something that just reminded a few of them afterwards that savour it, take it in, because they don't happen all the time. And when you get these occasions, you need to grasp them, do your stuff, and make sure that you produce. Hopefully you get the right result, but you do your stuff. And I think our players embraced that yesterday, and it was a terrific occasion, and hopefully something that we'll all experience going forward.
You mentioned a banquet there. He is a special talent. We spoke about him a couple of weeks ago, but it's one thing coming on and doing it in Richmond Park. It's another thing coming on and doing what he did at the Aviva yesterday. He looked to the manner born.
And if you look at his stepping up for offside in the key moment of the game, where he's defending properly and he's aware of what's around him, and he makes the step at the right time, relatively close to the halfway line, superb. And that epitomised his composure and his coolness. His strength and his physical attributes and his athleticism are there for all to see. But if he's beginning to become a leader of the team by virtue of his play, his reading of the game is going to improve. But that summed him up to me. He's a special talent, and we're absolutely delighted with him, and delighted that he had that opportunity to showcase his talents. And I think, like our goalkeeper, he will have, and Darragh Burns, I would imagine, he will have the opportunity to play at a higher stage in the coming years.
And just before I let you go, Alan, where does this rank personally in your successes in football, be it as a manager or a player? Because you've been involved in some special moments. This is another one to add to the list. Yeah,
luckily enough, you've been very fortunate to have good days. But I think each one has its own special place, if that makes sense to you. None is better than the other. They all have special memories for various reasons. And I think this will go on its own, compartmentalise it in its own space, because we've put together a really, really good crew of guys over the last 18 months or so. We've come out of COVID. It's been very, very taxing on a number of things. For all players, staff, clubs, people associated with it, you can't go and watch games, the training. You have to do remote meetings and Zoom calls, and players can't have showers. And when you're coming into training, they have to come in cars and go straight to the ground. So it's very difficult to keep, the what's the norm up and running, and for guys to perform in that environment week in, week out, to get us a good finish in the league, but then to finish it off in front of 37,000 people is a special day. And for me, being part of it, it's just a real sense that, well, look, we've been able to put together a strong group of players, very committed group of players that the club, I think, would be proud to see representing them. And they are proud to play with each other and proud to have achieved what they've achieved this year. Hopefully there's a bit more to come from that group. But I think you can't look at one and say that was better than that. They are all special days and they're all slightly different. And I think for the guys themselves, they'll remember it. For some of them, they're first. For some of them, it's their third, fourth, or fifth, whatever. But I think each one that you get to, you have to cherish it and try and make the best of it, so that it's a positive memory. And also be very, very mindful that they don't come around that often. And to, whatever your career takes you, make sure that you do everything you can to have days like that on an ongoing basis.
Alan, really appreciate your time today, because I know it's a very busy day. In a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days, couple of months, whatever, we'll get into the business of what's next or next season. But today I'm going to let you off and let you celebrate a magnificent cup win. And not just that, celebrate the birth of your grandchild. You do not look old enough to be a granddad.
Thank you. Some people say it. I look extremely old. But thank you.
Well, I'm sure during the penalties yesterday you looked a bit old, but the blood has come back into the face and you're okay now. Listen, Alan, thanks for joining us on the extratime.com Monday podcast.
Yeah, the relief afterwards probably takes a couple of years off. You're all right. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, at the home of St Patrick's Athletic on Friday night, UCD secured their spot in the Premier Division for next year, beating Waterford FC 2-1 in the SSE Electricity League promotion relegation playoff. Waterford went 1-0 up early enough, with Wordsworth getting the goal, but Dara Keane got the equaliser before Colin Whelan put the students ahead. All the goals coming in the first half. Funnily enough, Whelan and Keane are former Waterford players. After the match, I caught up with UCD's Paul Doyle, who was excellent for them throughout the playoff series, and also the UCD manager, Andy Myler.
Delighted for the players, absolutely delighted. Can't wait to see them playing in the Premier next year. Just because they deserve it and they want to be there, and they showed how much they wanted to be there over the last couple of weeks. So just a really, really another good performance. Really gritty at times, with some really good playing there as well.
As a manager, you must be particularly pleased that when it really mattered, when you really had to do it across the playoffs and tonight, that's when you played your best football.
100%. As we say, when the money was on the table, that's when we really came to play. And we've been so solid over the last 7-8 weeks. So, it doesn't surprise us, because we work with the players day in, day out, and they're a really hungry, grounded, humble group of young men. So they've just really turned up when it matters.
You know the cliched bullshit debate, what do UCD bring? I think if anyone says that to me, I'm going to show them videos of the last couple of weeks to show them what UCD bring. Yeah. Because as well as that, you've got the great facilities, but your squad, the way you play, you're a joy to watch. You've earned your spot in the top flight.
100%. I mean, that is a nonsense debate. It's been had over many, many years. Like, football's played on the pitch. Not how many people you bring to a ground, but in fairness, we brought half the crowd here tonight as well. So, so we've earned it over the season. We got there, we've got over the line, and I can't wait to see them in the Premier, because they're a really good bunch of lads, and some real quality in there as well, so looking forward to it.
And look, I'm sure, like all managers at this time of the season, you've work to do, but there's a lot of those guys who'll be back next year. I was looking kind of down your roster list on the transfer market or whatever it's called, and there's a lot of guys whose contracts are running into next year, so that's good, isn't it, that you've got a good basis?
Absolutely, we're not losing too many lads. 1 or 2 will move on for sure, just because it's the end of their time. But they've done us a great service with getting us there. But most of the lads in the squad, we don't have a big turnover coming in this off season. Probably be a bigger one in the next off season. But we've also got lads who've been around the squad that fellas haven't seen so far, that will come in and play. And we bring a couple in the winter window as well. But so we're not losing loads, but that's the cycle of things.
Andy, well done.
Thanks a million.
Paul Doyle of UCD, how does it feel to have helped the team and the club back into the SSC or Trinity League Premier Division?
It's unbelievable, to be honest with you. It's a top-notch feeling. Can't even put it into words. Listen, my first year here, we were lucky enough to get promoted, and I think now that's my last game here, so it's great to end it on a high and go out with a bang, I suppose. So that was the goal ever since we got relegated. See, can we get back up there? And it's just buzzing to have done it. Absolutely buzzing.
What were you thinking when you went 1-0 down after 4.5 minutes?
To be honest with you, I didn't really think that we were under much pressure in terms of we know we get chances where we score goals. We score goals for fun. We have Colley and Limo, they score any amount of goals in any game, so I think the belief is always there that we'll always score 2 or 3. So to be honest, when we went 1-0 down, we weren't phased. You could see, boys, we grew into the game, and when we got our chances, we were clinical. And to be honest with you, I thought we probably had chances for 1 or 2 more. I know Colley nearly rounded the keeper down there in the second half, but to be honest with you, I think we were well deserved of it.
You played great football throughout the playoffs, against Treaty the first night particularly, against Bray last week, again tonight. How does that feel as a footballer to do it when the pressure is on? Because I won't say it's easy to do it when there's no pressure, but when everyone is watching and when you know there's something big at stake, that's when you have stepped up, that's when you've played your best this season.
Absolutely, and I think as the season wore on, we grew as a team, and I mean there was 20, 24, 25 lads that were used all season, and we knew we could count on boys that could come into the squad. And just mentioned Adam Verdon played probably the last 8-10 games up into the playoffs, and to be honest with you, he was one of our best players, and he was so unlucky not to play. But when you have people like that on the bench, and you know you're under pressure that if you don't put in a shift, that there's lads like that like Quinfy and they'll do the job. And I think that gives us all great confidence that we know we have boys on the bench. We know, like, we've grew together as a squad, and you see lads have grown into men. The likes of Sam Todd, Evan Osam, Harvey O'Brien, the boys at the back. Lorcan's been excellent the last couple of weeks, and when the pressure really came on, boys stood up and they, forgive the words, they grabbed it by the balls and they went and done it, like, you know.
How does it feel to have done it in front of this crowd? I presume a lot of your family and friends are here. They would have come up from Mayo today.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a load of people here, and it's great to do it because, you know, as you know yourself in the bowl, we don't get that many crowds too often, and I'm laughing and joking at a few lads there, Sunshine supporters. But listen, you take anyone that comes in the gate to support you on a night like this, and it's unbelievable to do. Honestly, it's an unbelievable club, and I can't put into words how much the club means to me over the last 4 years that I've been here, and I'm just delighted that I can go out like this, and it's unbelievable, yeah.
And you know yourself, it'll be thrown out there, UCD, what do they bring? Tell me what they bring.
Well, I will tell you that if you look around the league, at any club throughout the league, the last team that got promoted 2-3 years ago in 2018, the Gary O'Neills, Greg Sloggis, Georgies, the Liam Scales, if there's anyone that turns around to you and says UCD don't bring anything to the league, look at them lads. They've won cups, leagues, Irish internationals. People that think UCD don't bring anything to the league, I've no time for it. Honest to God, there's lads here in this team, Irish under-21 internationals, 19s internationals, lads that will go on and they'll be the staple of League of Ireland football for the next 10-15 years. And you only have to look, I'm only looking back 2-3 years, but if you look back further than that, the Bensons, the Ronan Finns, all them types of players, that's what UCD brings to the league, and I don't think anybody has a right to say they don't bring anything to this league.
Paul Doyle, who played his last game for UCD on Friday night. The very best of luck to him with whatever comes next. I also want to say our condolences to Andy Myler and his family. He lost his dad Andrew last week, so it wasn't an easy couple of days for him. And look, obviously, a win or anything that happens in a sporting context doesn't make up for his loss. But if it gave him a second of distraction, a second of joy, then that's a good thing. But look, our condolences to Andy Myler and family. Let's talk Gaelic games now, a bit more of a roundup on what happened over the weekend to come. But first, David Kennedy of Loughmore-Castleiney joins us. David is one of the elder lemons in the squad. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. And yesterday he helped them to the Tipperary Senior Hurling title. Last week they won the Tipperary Senior Football title. David, congratulations. How are things in Loughmore today?
I think we're already coming down now. I think there was an incredible high yesterday after the final whistle. I think there's a few mixtures of emotions there. Obviously, there was a huge amount of joy and elation and euphoria almost, but for the players as well, there was a huge sense of relief and a release of tension because, a lot of your listeners will know that last year we also played in both finals of hurling and football, and we were pipped at the post in both finals in really dramatic fashion. And it was something that wasn't really spoken about this year at all. There was very little reference made to it, but it was at the back of everyone's mind going into the home run in the championship in both hurling and football, that we were in a position now where we could compete again in both county finals and hopefully, get over the line. But yeah, when you're actually in the final, you really are aware that last year we came up short, and you're really, really determined that this year we're going to make amends. So I would say last week against Clonmel Commercials in the football, we were absolutely delighted to win it. But I think the overriding emotion was relief. There was a huge weight taken off our shoulders because now we had finally won something. There was a medal in the pocket, so to speak, and then it really blended in nicely for this coming week, leading up to the hurling final, because there was a huge pressure taken off us that we had won the final. I could really, really, really look forward to winning the hurling final. And when the final whistle went, it was a mixture of all of those things: utter happiness, euphoria, but at the back of it all, a great sense of relief and stress relief, I would say, almost. So yeah, it was felt by everyone. And look, last night down in the village in Loughmore, oh my God, what a night! Look, it was great. It was just a fantastic night for the parish, and it's going to be a great week for the parish as well. So we're very, very happy. A very, very happy bunch of people in Loughmore-Castleiney.
And are people going around overjoyed, or are they going around in just pure disbelief today?
I wouldn't say disbelief. I don't think the players are going around in disbelief, because we know it's in us to do it.
Yeah.
To be able to get to finals in both codes, and we know it is within us to win it. So I wouldn't say disbelief. It is joy. It is absolute joy and a great sense of fulfilment, because every one of those players is well capable of playing both codes to a really, really good standard. Well capable of doing it, and we know as a group of players we're well capable of getting to finals in hurling and football. And if things go right, if injuries don't come into it, we get a good run of results and what have you, we know we always have a chance of getting to finals. And no, it hasn't. It rarely happens, but I think it's in the history of Loughmore GAA Castleiney and in the club. Someone said it's the 9th time we've competed in both hurling and football finals in the 1 years. And we've managed to win it on 2 occasions, back in 2013 and yesterday. So it's not a new thing for teams and Loughmore-Castleiney teams to be in both codes and in the finals in both codes. So, I would say the players are very, very, very content with what they're after achieving over the last 2 or 3 weekends. And
where has this come from? Because to do it with a very small bunch of players is phenomenal. Does one help the other? As in, does training for football help the hurling? Does training for hurling help the football?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Look, I can't understand why clubs choose to go with one code and one code only. I just don't understand it, because in a broader sense, it's important that players get to play both codes, whether it's a big club or a small club. And because one sport complements the other. And you have to remember, the function and role of GAA clubs is to promote the games, hurling and football, camogie, ladies football, whatever it is. It's our job to promote them. And I think it's very narrow-minded to focus on one code. And I think clubs are ultimately selling themselves short by focusing on one code. There's lots of clubs around Tipperary, lots and lots of clubs that focus solely on hurling. But they have good football players, really good football players. And our neighbouring club there, Drummond Inch, who we have a very, very, a good rivalry with. There's a lot of family connections between both clubs. And they're predominantly a hurling club. But last week they went on and won the Intermediate Football Championship, which is a hard championship to win. But we went down and looked at their team, and a lot of them are just fabulous footballers. And I just don't understand why more clubs can't promote both codes. And it's not a big deal. It actually is not a big deal, because there's a lot of players in a lot of clubs that might be very, very good at football. But if the club doesn't give them an opportunity to play football, well, what do they do then? Well, they step away from the club, or they go to a club that does promote football. So I think ultimately clubs should embrace both codes and promote it. There's nothing to lose by doing it. Absolutely nothing to lose. In fact, it's a win-win situation, because all about what clubs want to do is play games. Players just want to play games. Doesn't matter if it's a hurley or football. It's all the same. They want to play games, and the more opportunities to get to play, they will do it. And the club thrives on the back of that.
Yeah. And what about yourself, David? What keeps you coming back? Because you're on the more experienced side, if I can put it that
that's
way.
a nice way of putting it. Lots of people ask me that and make reference to, God, you're there a long time. Like, I'm 45 years of age, and people say, "Aren't you a great man to be playing?" and what keeps you going? And sometimes I can't understand why people ask me that. I think the question should be asking. People should ask themselves, "Why aren't I playing at 37 or 8 or 40 years of age?" I think a lot of lads just give up too soon. Now, I appreciate lads get injured. They have family commitments, work commitments. Now, I've had all of those things as well. But I love playing the sport. I love playing hurling and I love playing football, and I'll play as long as I can play. I always feel if there's a place for you, if you can contribute to the club in any way, shape or form, whether it's standing in goals or making up a player on a team or pushing other players on or competing, or especially competing for a position on the field, I think you should do it. And I don't know what I would do if I wasn't playing. I don't think management or coaching is ever the same as actually playing. Inevitably, I'm going to retire someday, but I don't plan to do it any day soon. I don't envisage it. I'll keep going until I absolutely can't play anymore. So that probably answers your question. Why do I do it? I just love playing. That's as simple as that.
And I imagine the playing keeps you young.
It does. Yeah, it's good for your physical health, great for your mental health. It does. Like, the mental health is the buzzword at the moment, and I think for me, playing the game, having a routine, having something to look forward to at the weekend, midweek, going training, meeting guys, kicking the ball, all of those small little things are all simple little activities. They are easy to do, and so I love doing it, and it's just a great passion of mine. I've always loved playing both codes and playing for the club, and I think as well when you're playing with a club like Loughmore, because we're involved in both codes and because we're competing year in, year out at the higher end, there's always an opportunity that you're going to win something. And personally, for me, that's a big motivating factor. I'd hate to step away from one of the teams and miss out on a title or what have you, or miss out on a big occasion like we've had over the last 2 weeks. So that's another little thing. You like to be involved and keep your oar in and contribute as best you can.
And it's just good crack as well. I mean, now at the lowest possible level of hurling, right? I'm 40 and I still train. And one of the lads said to me, why are you still doing it? Because I don't have any chance of getting on any team. But I just said, I just love the crack. I just love turning up. And it's better than that. It's better than going for a run.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, I was never a person now that could go off and do things by myself. Hate the gym. I tried to give the gym a go a few times, and I could do it for a few weeks or a few months, and I just can't motivate myself to do things by myself. I wouldn't go running or cycling or swimming. I just love team sports. I love being around a group of guys or all have something in common. And, it's just grand to have. It's a release as well as much as anything else. Like, just a release from, everyday life. And, why wouldn't you want to play? Like, that's probably the easiest way to put it. Like, there's so much to be gained by being involved in the group. And it's a great social outlet as well as being good for your health and good for your mental health and keep fit and what have you. It's a great outlet.
Yep. And look, you've done it all in hurling. You've had success with club and county. How does this one compare?
Oh, look, this is right up there. I say like Loughmore, I think it's our 5th county title. I think, could be wrong, but it's definitely the best county title we've ever won, for many reasons. Well, I think we played against a club of Thurles Sarsfield standard, and their quality, and their tradition, and their history. And it's been a long time since we beat Thurles Sarsfields in a knockout championship match. And to finally do it in the biggest match of the year is really superb. And the quality of both games was absolutely fantastic. So, that really, really adds to it. And, I think I'm going back to last year, and, you'd be sick and tired of talking about last year, but to come back from the heartache of last year and to go and get there again and to actually cross the line this time, oh man, it's just magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. And, you look at players like Noel and John and what have you, and they get the highlight, and they get the limelight as such, but there's such a group of other players that probably don't hear as much about, the Joey Hennessy's, the Willie Evestons, Larkin Egan's. These guys work every bit as hard, put in the long hours, don't have the media attention on them and like that, but without them, nothing is won. So, delighted for them because they've worked so hard and they deserve so much as well in their careers, and delighted for them yesterday especially.
Yeah, well, look, I'm delighted for you. And just before I let you go, actually, there could be more success to come. The AIB Munster GA Football Senior Club Championship and Hurling Senior Club Championship. It's Ballygunner of Waterford on the 11th or 12th at a Waterford venue in the semi-final. But before that, it's the football Éire Óg of Clare in Cusack Park. Is it a case that you'll now just go and give those games a rattle and be as hungry for those as you were to win the tip title, or what's the atmosphere?
I would hope so. Look, we played in the Munster Football Championship on numerous occasions, and we've had a very poor record. Now, saying that, we played against Dr. Crokes of Killarney on the last 2 occasions, so there are obviously very big challenges to get over them. Previous to that, we played De La Salle at Waterford back in 2006, and we didn't get over that. So Éire Óg, look, to be honest, we know very, very little about them. We didn't pay much heed to the Clare Football Championship. I think after the commercials victory, I don't think anybody actually realised that we were playing the Clare champions until maybe that night or the morning after. So that's how little forward thinking we had done at the time. But I think when things settle down tomorrow or Wednesday or whatever day of the week it is, we'll get back and we'll be. I think the lads will be determined to do well, because there's an obligation on county champions to go out and represent their county to the best standard that they can. And we'd like to go down to Ennis and put our best foot forward, and I think we're capable of doing it. By all accounts, Ennis are a fine team. And they've come through a tough championship in Clare. They're a dual club like ourselves, got to the hurling semi-final, so they know what it's like to be on the road with both codes. So look, we'll take the next day or two and we'll reassess come Wednesday night, and please God, come Sunday we'll be ready for the next step of the journey. And obviously Ballygunner, that's the following week. Look, we'll talk about them next week, so we just get over this weekend first.
David Kennedy of Loughmore-Castleiney, thanks for joining us on the extratime.com Monday podcast.
Nice one, Oisin. Nice. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great weekend for Loughmore-Castleiney and co. Well done to St Finbarrs, who won the Cork Senior Football Championship, beating Clonakilty on a narrow margin. Kilmacud Crokes march on in the AIB Leinster Club Hurling Championship. They had a good win against Raharney. They'll play Clock Balaculla in the semi-final. Clock winning on Saturday night in front of a live TV audience, beating Rapparees of Wexford, and Picky Marr got an incredible goal. He just kind of flicked it past the goalkeeper. It was quite the goal. Lots of action over the next couple of weeks. We will keep an eye on all of it. In the AIB Ulster Camogie final, Schlockneal and Lochgiel drawing. Schlockneal perennial winners of that, but Lochgiel are a team they've had to get over a few times to do it, and those two will lock horns again, I think, next Saturday, and it will be a dramatic encounter. It's one worth keeping an eye out for. There's actually highlights of that game available on BBC Sport Northern Ireland, the BBC Sport Northern Ireland website. Right, before we go, let's find out how the Irish did in the UK this weekend football-wise. Here is extratime.com's Tom O'Connor.
Not a lot of Premier League action amongst the Irish abroad this weekend, Oisin, as Seamus Coleman was the only player to record any action. His Everton side going down 1-0 to Brentford on Sunday. Also going down on Sunday was the Burnley versus Spurs fixture. It fell foul to the weather, and unfortunately from an Irish point of view, Nathan Collins was due to start for Burnley, but the match obviously had to be rescheduled. In the Championship, Sheffield United won 2-0, and we saw assists for former Shamrock Rovers man Enda Stevens and his international teammate David McGoldrick. Cork's Conor Hurahan and John Egan also started for the Blades, while another Cork man, Sean McLaughlin, played as Hull won 2-1. He started the last 4 games for Hull and recorded a victory in each and every one of them. So look, the tide's starting to turn for Grant McCann's men, and Sean McLaughlin playing a pivotal role in that. Towards the top of the table, we had Gavin Kilkenny starting again in central midfield for Scott Parker's Bournemouth. Himself and Mark Travers almost were able to leapfrog Fulham, but Coventry equalised in the last minute to prevent them. 2-2 draw there. Ryan Manning scored a lovely right-footed strike as Swansea lost 3-2 to Reading. Ryan Manning scored his goal in the 49th minute. Reading scored their winning goal in the 50th minute, as such is football. And speaking of the Championship, Conor Coventry started for Peterborough, so we've 3 Irish midfielders there in Sam Smudge and Jack Taylor, so plenty of Irish interest there. Down in League One, we had Olamide Shadipo and Will Keane both recorded goals as their side. Shadipo's Sheffield Wednesday side drew 2-2 with Darren Horgan's Wickham. Horgan came on as a substitute in that game, while Will Keane's Wigan, obviously James McLean is there as well, and they're fighting for promotion out of League One. They beat Plymouth 2-1. Also in the same league, we had my namesake Thomas O'Connor scored a free kick for Burton as they beat Doncaster 2-0. In Scotland, Jake Doyle-Hayes saw his Hibs side beat St Johnstone 1-0. Obviously Hibs had a great result against Rangers in the Cup last weekend. And back to league action again, we had Johnny Hayes. His Aberdeen side lost 2-0 to Celtic, for whom James McCarthy played a full 90 minutes. And Liam Scales, obviously still at Parkhead, but yet to make his debut for the moment. That's it, Oisin. Short roundup after the end of a long domestic weekend.
Tom O'Connor, thank you very much for joining us on the extratime.com Monday podcast. We're back next Friday, hopefully a bit earlier than we got the podcast to you today, but you can understand us waiting to talk to Alan Mathews and David Kennedy. It was kind of a special weekend and we wanted to reflect that, and I don't think I could have done that if I'd have done my usual trick of editing this late on Sunday night and putting it together late on Sunday night and then putting it out early on Monday morning. So I hope you forgive the delay and understand the reason for it. If you're going along to Tala tomorrow night for the Republic of Ireland Georgia clash, enjoy the game and please do wrap up warm. Congratulations to St Patrick's Athletic, the Extra.ie FAI Cup champions. Hard luck to Bohemians. Well done to UCD, who have got promoted to the Premier Division with a fantastic win over Waterford. And to Waterford fans, I say, keep the faith. You've been there before and you have always bounced back. And well, I suppose we can only really enjoy the highs if we experience lows. I know Waterford fans have experienced more lows than most and probably think to themselves, why us? Why always us? But look, you just have to keep the faith. You know that, and no matter what, you'll be supporting your team. Unfortunately, next season, that support will be of a First Division team, but there's no reason they can't bounce back. That's it from me. Remember, you can get in contact directly with me via @Oisin Langan or @Extra Time News. Enjoy the week. I'll talk to you Friday.